Welcome to
Good
the
morning.
Expanded Woman Network podcast, hosted by Misty, Willis, and Sherry Gideons. Successful women show you how. Inspiration, transformation, empowerment, business, finances, health and wellness, and spirituality and life.
Welcome. Just wanted to say a thank you for coming on today, Donna Bergman. And we have you here today to talk about you as a hypnotist and how you can help us live a free and clear life through all of your different modalities like Psych K and behavioral consulting, and also Reiki. So welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome.
My pleasure to
Donna.
be here.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yay.
So I know. So I wanted to ask you, we want to try to just give one kind of crazy question each time we talk. So this should be a little bit different about your hypnosis, okay? But
Okay.
how would you solve problems
live a free and clear
if
life?
you were from Mars?
How would I what?
How would you solve problems if you were from Mars?
From Mars. I'm not sure. I would observe and
All of your different
try to learn from the community and
all of your different modalities.
I don't know. I don't know how to answer that question.
No, I think you started out great. Like learn from the community and see, how that operates first, right?
And that's what we do as children. We learn and observe, and then we try different things and see what works best.
Absolutely. That's good. I love that answer. See, you knew how to answer that question.
Yeah.
All right.
Absolutely. So Donna Jo, in the profession you're in, and I know you're so passionate about it, but you got into this profession for a reason. So what kind of hurdles did you face personally in your own life, and how did you overcome those, using hypnotherapy or hypnotism?
Okay, I would love to answer that. My experience started out as being, I was in my middle 40s and I was in an unhappy marriage. I had been raised in a divorced home. I had a lot of unresolved anger issues, blame and shame. And I was going to talk therapy. And talk therapy works for many wonderful things and it's very useful. But for me, I just talked around my issue. And when I went to a hypnotherapy session and they regressed me to age 8, whereas I had some shock and trauma that I had experienced, but I had covered it up. My father had been in a terrible car accident, was unconscious for 60 days in the hospital for a year. And during that time, my whole little life, shifted and changed. So when my children are like teenagers and they don't need me anymore to be there every day, I started having these flashbacks and these fears and the stress. So the hypnotherapy helped me realize that I had just covered that up or stuffed it or denied those emotions of being, afraid. Where's my daddy? Where's my mommy? What's going on?
Mm-hmm.
And so as a client, I got relief and I released anger that I was holding in my jaw, which caused TMJ issues.
Right.
And I kept going and going. And finally, my therapist said, why don't you just take the training? And basically, I took it for my own therapy. I didn't at the time have the idea that I would practice, but it helped me so much understand so many things that I knew that I had to share that with others.
Awesome. I fully get it because I went through that period of life myself where, after my near-death experience, I kind of walked away from the world and I was willing to look inside and I was willing to, start asking certain questions, about life, about myself, because I mean, at some level, we all want to experience fulfillment and joy and happiness. And so the more that I started to let go of all of that, and not only that, being willing to talk about it, like you're saying about yourself, and, you know, looking at, you know, how can I live a more prosperous, joyous, you know, free life?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, awesome.
Definitely resonate with both of you. I feel like finally in my older age, not that I'm old, but you know, in my older age, I really feel like I can finally, or I'm open-minded enough to get back into that part of my life and figure out like why I did
Right.
things the way I did and how can I fix that, right? So I think that as we get older, we just kind of become more mature too, and then are open to the possibilities of how to change.
Exactly. Yes. And what we all want, what we're all looking for is that inner peace that no one
Yes.
can give you or buy for you. You have to yourself. And that comes with understanding from a higher perspective about all these issues. You know, we come into this lifetime with wounds. It's abandon or betray or reject or humiliation or injustice. And so these wounds affect us in all these different ways. So I was abandoned, I was betrayed, I was rejected by my daddy because he went away, you know, and he came back, but he wasn't the same. So all those years of growing up with that shock and trauma forms you. And then in my middle 40s, you know, I was, looking for how can I feel good?
Mm-hmm.
How can I be at peace in my mind and my heart? So that's what I do now for people. And, you know, my passion is helping those that have been, I call it shock and trauma, but it's any kind of experience that wounded you or scarred you or, and most of the time we cover it up or we forget it or we tell ourselves a story. Oh, they didn't mean that, or he really does love me. That's just the way he shows his love, or whatever the story is that we tell ourselves so we can live day to day and, you know, do our laundry and buy our groceries and get through the day. But basically underneath there's festering. It's like, you know, all these people now, I meet people every day who are on 1, 2, or 3 drugs for anxiety or stress.
Right.
And what's the root cause? Where did that come
Mhm.
online? You know, all that is doing is a band-aid to just, you know, it stuffs the emotions that's still
Mhm.
there underneath the surface, bubbling and churning, and, you know, it's going to come up sometime, some way. But
Mhm.
what I like to do is help them find that root cause or the source, you know. And I use kinesiology, which is muscle testing,
Nice.
to talk to the subconscious and bypass the conscious analytical mind, because people will say, you know, oh no, I've forgiven my mother for blah, blah, blah. But their body will not hold strong on, I forgive my mother. So,
Mhm.
you know, in kinesiology, Psych K is a good example of looking for conflicting beliefs. I love myself. It's hard to love myself. Okay. That's a program that's running on your data in your data bank, in your computer bank. And we have to find those conflicting beliefs and change them. And so kinesiology helps me cut to the chase. Okay. Can I give, for instance,
Yeah, go right
Sure.
ahead. We love it.
a gentleman that I worked with who was going to turn 50. He had found me on the internet and he wanted help. He was drinking and drugging and cheating on his wife. And he didn't want to do any of those anymore. And he had been in talk therapy. He had tried to resolve it. Um, and so when I talked to his body and I said, what's the age of cause or best place to take you to clear this? It was age 6. And he went totally white. And he said, well, how did you know that? I've never told anybody what happened when I was 6. You know, so I said, well, you have to talk about it and tell me about it, and we have to resolve it. Or you know, if you're willing to move forward. So I did 5 sessions with him and we cleared it. He quit his drugging and his drinking, and him and his wife went to marriage counseling. But he had tried to hide or deny some abuse that happened to him with some older boys when he was 6 years old.
How did
So the
let's go back
drinking
for a second? How do you do kinesiology? I mean, what is the method of that for you to get the right awareness to, work with him?
Okay, so kinesiology is using the body to talk to the subconscious, and
Okay.
you can self muscle test or you can muscle test someone else. It's wonderful for learning what you're strong for or what you're weak for.
Mhm.
And briefly, I have a son who had some allergies when he was younger, and he had, I'll call them ADHD symptoms. And we learned kinesiology to find out if he was allergic to milk or peanut butter or whatever it was. And the body holds strong for what you can process, and it goes weak on what you cannot. Well, it's the same thing with asking questions. If you go to a nutritionist, there's a lot of them who muscle test to ask your body if you need this nutrition or that mineral, yes or no, positive or negative, strong or weak. So I've taken a lot of training. I couldn't even list all the training I've taken, but um, behavioral kinesiology, Psych K is psychological kinesiology. It's essential to learn it. You can go on YouTube and learn it free. I paid money to get trained in it, but I use both arms. Some people use one arm or the other arm, but you can go on YouTube and put in muscle testing or self muscle testing and teach yourself how to do it.
Oh, so you can do it to yourself.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
I love it.
Yes. So
Actually, she had taught me about Aiden to do it for Aiden when he was having some issues too.
Nice.
So it's just a tool, that you can use, but I use it. Okay. So in talk therapy, another example is I usually work with women, but I have worked with men and I have great results with men. But another man came to see me who had been in talk therapy, and he had been in there for 20 years. Okay. He had changed therapists several times, but he had come to the conclusion that he was 67, he wasn't married, he wasn't successful, and it was all his mother's fault because she coddled him or whatever. But when I muscle tested him to ask his age of cause for his trauma, issue, it was age 16. And I had to help him resolve that. And it was embarrassing for him. I mean, I'm not going to, share what happened, but, I work with people who have been victims, but he was a perpetrator, if you understand what I mean.
Sure.
And so we had to do a piece around forgiveness, self-forgiveness. It was real interesting. It was one of the hardest sessions I've really ever done, but the body doesn't lie. You just have to know how to make the statement of what you're looking for. It can't, it can hold strong or weak, but you really are not looking for yes or no. You're looking for, is this statement a true statement?
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. One of the things that I teach, because I'm a life mastery consultant, so I teach all about asking the quality of questions. So, is that very similar to the quality of questions you ask yourself determines the quality of life you live? Because you need to ask the right questions, don't you?
Exactly. Usually when I'm muscle testing for myself, I'll ask, is it in my best interest? Or is it in my highest and best good to do this today? Or, you can, you have to practice and get confident with the process. If you're running a fever and you're sick or you're upset, you've been triggered, you're probably not going to be grounded enough to get the right answers.
Right.
But I encourage you and everyone listening to learn muscle testing.
Sure.
Especially for your children. If your children are on medication, I worked with one little girl who was 8 years old, and she was taking 3 or 4 different medications. And her problem was the paint. We went through everything. We had a whole list of, is it milk? Is it sugar? Is it flour? Is it, and it finally came down to the paint on the wall in her bedroom was
Oh,
causing her
Oh
a
my gosh.
reaction. Okay,
wow.
so it can be something as simple as the stuffing in your mattress.
Wow.
Because when you roll over, the air moves and you breathe it in. So it's unbelievable how you can really use that as a tool to enhance your life. And not only in looking for, have I forgiven my mother? Well, your brain says yes. Oh, yeah, you
Right.
forgave her, but your body's not going to hold strong.
Hmm.
Wow.
Love that. And I love that, you helped my daughter in really a profound way in your practices and going into her past lives and things. And it took her a little while to kind of get situated, but I saw an immediate change. And I was pretty amazed by that. And then, I've had a couple sessions with you as well. And I'm like, oh, I'm good. I don't need anything. But, you were able to uncover a couple things that I wasn't even aware of, even from like before I was even born, which is
Exactly.
crazy, right? Like I didn't
Exactly.
know these things, but it made sense. It made sense. And it kind of opened up some doors for me too.
So
I definitely appreciate it.
let me tell you one other experience I had with one of my clients. It's been several years now, but she was 34. She was expecting her second child, and she had always been afraid to drive, but she had this fear of driving, and she didn't know where it came from. But she had to take her daughter to school and pick her up, her second grade daughter. So we asked her body, what's the age of cause, your best place to clear this? And it was the third trimester, 7th month. Okay, so her mother's expecting her. She's in vitro, and that was her age of cause. So I said to her, well, don't go blame your mom or anything, but ask her what was going on with her when she was pregnant with you. And her mom said, oh, that was September. You were born in December, and that was September. And I cried and cried and cried till you were born because my dad died. So that anxiety, and the other part of that is the mother was pregnant and not married, and the dad was the source of her, life. And so her dad dies, and she doesn't know what she's going to do. She's in fear, that stress, anxiety got imprinted at the cellular level in her fetus, her baby, unborn baby. And then here she is, 34 years old, carrying around energy that's not even hers. So we cleared it. And then her mom came to see me, and I worked with her mom about abandonment. And so it's a beautiful story that ends well.
Oh yeah.
Life changer, girl. You're a life changer. So
Yeah, that's a
super
beautiful
exciting.
story. I love that story. It's so interesting. I love all this because, when I had my near-death experience, when I was on the other side, I was surrounded by thousands of spirits. And one of the things that was communicated to me in that experience was that we all contract before we come into this lifetime to showing up in each other's moments, and that we've decided with each other that we're going to remember who we truly are, and that these things that you're talking about, we're going to show up in each other's moments and help each other through it. I mean, good and bad, and what we would call bad, but in reality, it's really good.
It is. Totally agree. I totally agree. Yeah, we're all connected. And the left eye is connected to the heart. And so if you learn how to communicate with people left eye to left eye, about any minute after you start that, you'll recognize that you knew them from another time in another place.
Ooh,
So
and that's weird. You know why? Because you know how they say you can tell somebody's lying, like the FBI can tell you if you're lying if they see your left eye turning the other way. That might have something to do with that.
It's like a soul connection. If you have a soul connection, you'll recognize it. Usually. There's other ways that like the hair on your head will stand up or something. But yes, I think that's interesting that, and the past life work is, I love doing it. It's like better than a soap opera because you can't make this up. But a lot of people, so I don't know if you know this or you're aware of it, but whatever your primary gift is, if you're a seer and you see things, like if I asked you to visualize a green apple, do you see it or you just know it's there? And so when you're going back in regression, whether it's this lifetime looking for, issues, or any other lifetime, if you see it like a movie. If you're a feeler or a knower, just know it. Or if your gift is hearing, if you're auditory, then somebody, a guide, an angel, a priest, or somebody will come up and tell you what's going on. So not everybody has the same experience. So I thought
Wow,
that was
that's
interesting.
fascinating. I love it, because I love that you're sharing that side of this, because when I had it done, I had past life regression done. Actually, I had inner child work done first. And in my experience, my issues have been with my daddy too. And, my dad was a perfectionist because he came up during his mother was left on a doorstep during the Great Depression, when, they were having large groups of children, and it got to where they couldn't take care of all the children. And so his mother was left on a doorstep, and the woman whose doorstep that, she was left on, raised my grandmother, but it was during the era of hard love. And so when my grandmother got pregnant with my father, it was during the war, when the women were working in the air hangars. Remember that? Yeah. And so the same woman that raised my grandmother ended up raising my father. And she came across without love. She didn't give love easily. It was, the whole, let me just spank you and let me just inflict pain and suffering. So, here comes my dad, and his whole mindset is around perfectionism. And so he kind of played the same role with me, where he only gave love based on how well I performed, and did I achieve? So for myself, when I had the inner child work done, literally I saw myself hugging my father as a little boy, giving love and hugging him.
He didn't know how to give it because he'd never received it.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
Well, the other thing that we inherit, and it comes down through the DNA, is the shock and trauma from, like, your abandonment. Your grandmother was abandoned. So that follows the DNA line. So another thing about muscle testing is, when you're asking, age of cause or best place to clear this, you can go back through the generations. If it's not in this lifetime or in vitro, is it one generation back, 2 generations, 3? And then you can find out, is it paternal? Is it maternal? And then you can go on a journey, like remote viewing or whatever you want to call it, and see what was happening. And that works really well if the person that I'm working with is open to going back and seeing, where did this come from? How can we fix it? How can we heal it? And it's something as simple as giving that person in that other lifetime love or affection or forgiveness. So DNA does talk to DNA. And so my promise is, when I work with somebody, I want to heal it for them, behind them, beside them, siblings, in front of, or cousins, in front of them, children, grandchildren, great grandchildren, and so on. So that trauma, or that, energy in the DNA, can be healed. Does that make sense?
Oh gosh,
Absolutely.
yeah. And that's beautiful. I love that, because, the whole thing is like, we talk about historical, how we keep coming in lifetime after lifetime with all these historical beliefs. And you mentioned it earlier, imprinting. We come into this whole societal imprinting, and then we go into the school system, and we, connect with other people that, obviously are like-minded in some way energetically. And we just bring that belief that we have imprinted into ourselves into stronger programming.
Exactly. Yes. So it's like I tell my clients, I can guide you, lead you, and show you how to be new and different, but you have to do your own work. You have to investigate, practice what I teach you. I like tapping. Tapping is called emotional freedom technique, and there's certain acupuncture points that you can tap on that helps release trauma. And it's free to learn it. You can learn that on YouTube too.
Mm-hmm.
So there's different tools and techniques and things that you can use. And my goal is I've applied for a grant to buy a bed and breakfast facility where I could have my clients come and stay 3 days, 5 days, or 7 days and get healed. If you need I can do 5 sessions in 3 days, and that usually takes care of most PTSD symptoms. There's other people that need 10 sessions. Some have needed 6 or 7. Some are done in 2. It just depends. But when you start to do the work, and we're in that deep hypnotic trance state where we're releasing stuff from the subconscious mind, which is like a computer.
Sure.
And it's like these things that are happened are like viruses that are running on your data in your data bank, and we're going to clear those. It's just a process. So some people are, have better luck sooner than they do later, but that when you go home from your first session, if you just come to my office, then you've opened that Pandora's box of, oh my God, and then when you're driving your car, turning left or turning right, you'll have all these flashbacks of other things that you had stuffed or forgotten or tried to talk yourself out of. And if you're with me, if you're in my home, or if we're in a retreat center somewhere, I can work with you when those come up. And we can resolve it right then rather than suffering through the week till you come back for the next visit. So that's my goal. And these children, I remember when I gave my presentation for my grant, one of the council members said, how great would it be to work with these kids as teenagers before they get married and start having their children, because this dysfunction breeds more dysfunction. And if you're clear and you've processed your guilt and shame and blame and shock and trauma or whatever, you can raise children without all of the drama that, I raised mine with. I didn't know that I was dysfunctional or, I thought I was, and I was doing the best I knew how to do at the time, just like, we've all done. But I do know better now. And I can teach other people how to feel better about themselves. And most of the time, when I ask somebody to, say, I love myself, they can't hold strong on that. So many people do not even love themselves. And if you don't love yourself, you can't be open to receive love or success or appreciation or all the goodness and all the greatness that's, been promised to us.
Sure.
So
true, Donna Jo.
mm,
And you're one of those people that's helped lots of people, including myself and my family. So I love you to death. That's why you're on here today.
Thank you so much.
So just thank you for being here too.
Thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely.
And I would love to come back again sometime and we can just discuss your, those experiences that you have when you leave your body and you go to the other side.
And maybe you could teach us some tapping and muscle testing or something. That would be kind
of
cool.
I would love to do that. I mean, I would be happy to.
Yeah,
that would be really awesome.
Our guests would love it.
I know. Right?
I think so. I think they would, you've got to be open to, well, I've never seen this before. I don't understand it, but I'm going to try to, learn something new, because it's essential to raising healthy children is to find out what they're strong and weak for. If they're on medication, there's something, My son took Ritalin for 3 years before we found out he was allergic to milk. And when he didn't do milk, he didn't need medication, so
That's
anyway.
interesting that you say that, because one of the things I talk to even my husband, he is convinced that milk soothes his stomach. But then he has all these gastric issues of coughing and hacking and and I'm telling him all the time, and not to mention, he's on all these medications for pulmonary heart disease. And I'm constantly saying to him, get rid of the milk. And he tried over the holidays, and he actually did get rid of it for 2 weeks. And all those coughing and hacking issues went away.
That does a number on me too. Like I have asthma issues, and as soon as I drink milk or eat dairy or anything like that, I have the same issues.
Yes, a lot of people do.
It affects you. Yeah.
And it's not just that. The other thing is peanut butter that everybody gives their kids has fungus and mold in it.
Yeah.
And so does orange juice from concentrate. It's when my son was having some of his issues, I went searching. I read every book I could on, I did the Feingold diet where he had no red food dye. We had no sugar, and nothing, but he was still drinking milk. So as he got older, he's kind of grown out of it. But the other two, I have 3 sons. The other 2 older boys had nasal issues and they couldn't drink milk. So it causes mucus, and, a lot of people can process it, but a lot of people can't. So it's right there. It's advertised everywhere you go.
Sure.
So, and there are alternatives.
Well, Donna Jo, listen, we have fully enjoyed this experience with you. And we absolutely, I think that we need to have you back on a regular basis just to do a whole 30-minute show around each of these things that, like we're talking about, muscle testing and, all these different modalities, so that we can get a better fix on, how people can live a fuller, richer, happier life.
Exactly. I would love to. Just let me know.
Okay. Well, listen, tell us a little bit about your website. We posted your website on here. Tell us about how people can reach you and how they can get started with you.
Okay. My website, it's, I'm looking to update it, but it's got all the information, and it's really probably overwhelming. It's got a lot of information on there about all the other modalities that I do. I've taken energy medicine training. I've taken Reiki. I'm a Reiki master teacher. I've taken Arch. Arch is ancient rainbow conscious healing. It's kind of the Kahuna Hawaiian teachings. I am an Arch master. I know Kofutu, which is another energy modality.
Wow.
And I've taken Dr. Cam Ewan's energy medicine training. I have lots of tools. My phone number, you can call me at 817-228-6860. It is my cell phone, and you can leave me a message, and I will call you back or text you, or you can text me or email me at Donna Jo, DONNAJO @newlife-newyou.com.
Nice. And I posted it up on the screen here. If you see it too, there's your website.
Okay.
So any of you who want to get started on this with Donna Jo, visit her website at newlife-newyou.com. And Misty, so what any closing words you want to say about our debut show?
I'm so excited. We've been preparing this forever, and we finally are doing it. And I think we had the perfect guest for our first episode.
Thank you.
You're amazing. So much. I love everything you do. And I know that, you are changing lives, and that's part of what we're trying to do here in An Expanded Woman is expand, right? We're trying to give them these opportunities to know different means to be able to do your muscle testing or your tapping or whatever, so that we can get out of the place we're at and become the person we're supposed to be. So thank you. Love
You're
you.
welcome.
Mwah.
Thank
Thank
you. Love you
you.
too.
Thank you very much. And
Thank
so,
you.
for those of you who are watching, if any of you would like to be on the show, the Expanded Woman Network podcast, please reach out to us at either info@expandedwoman.com or Misty@expandedwoman.com or Sherry@expandedwoman.com. And until next time, everyone, thank you so much for being a part of our debut show. We are very happy, very excited, and enthused to have you. And have a wonderful day, a wonderful week.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. Thank you.